Greetings, this is Amber. I'm back with another Tarot for Mysteries reading. Today I'm going to do a reading for the missing Malaysian Airlines Flight MH370. And this was suggested to me by a friend of mine on social media. And I absolutely love getting suggestions for this kind of stuff. So if you happen to have any suggestions of like a puzzling mystery or an unresolved disappearance or crime that you'd like to see me do a tarot reading for, please let me know in the comments below or message me directly. And I most likely, if it's a truly unresolved case, I'll most likely do a reading for it. So please send me your suggestions. I'd love to hear them. So just a little bit of background. I will link to some more detailed info in the box below, but most of us have probably heard about this. It was all over mainstream news for quite a while when it happened in 2014. This massive commercial airliner, a passenger flight, disappeared while en route in the air, and no trace of any of the 250 people who were on board, none of their stuff, only bits and pieces of the plane itself has been found. There's only been 3 little pieces that can actually be confirmed that it was part of the plane, and nothing else has turned up. And we're coming close to 6 years. It'll be 6 years next March 2020. So this is a great mystery, and there's little rabbit holes you can go down for sure because of like the type of people who were passengers on the plane, and there's a lot of speculation about the pilot, and was it a suicide mission or was it a hijacking? The Malaysian government has never said. It's inconclusive basically. There's some things here and there that suggest that maybe it could have been a suicide mission, maybe it could have been a hijacking, but there's nothing that says anything for sure. And, how did this huge plane with 250 people on it just go totally missing? And beyond that, there's just the mystery of, how did it fly through the air undetected for 6 hours? One thing that's conclusive about the facts is that the communication systems were surely manipulated manually. It wasn't just like an electronic malfunction or anything like that. There has been conclusive evidence that it was all manipulated manually, that the plane was either being flown manually or it had been programmed prior to takeoff to fly in this particular pattern and direction. There's so much little details and rabbit holes and stuff about this, but I'm not really going to get into it here. I'm just going to go right into the reading. So we're going to do the 6-card spread again. That indicates the who, what, why, when, where, and how. So I'm just going to connect with Distance Reiki and shuffle the cards, connect to my cards, call in Spirit, and clarify my own intuition so that we can have clear, concise messages and insights come through from this reading. why, when, where, how. So, the first card represents the who, and it is the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords represents a person who might be a little cautious or aloof, and doesn't reveal a lot about themselves. And it's also about developing confidence in your own ideas, not following someone else's path. So what I'm feeling intuitively from this card right away is that this is speaking about the pilot. The pilot of this plane. There was a lot of controversy. There was a bunch of headlines, maybe a year or two after the plane went missing, that said that authorities were treating the pilot of the plane as the prime suspect in the case. When they dug into the pilot's past, there really wasn't anything to indicate that he would have been suicidal or that he would have wanted to commit suicide in this way, by taking the lives of so many other people as well, and making it be so complicated, by manipulating the aircraft and flying it for all that time. I'm feeling like the pilot may have had secrets that they kept hidden very, very well. He was perhaps planning something for a long time and was able to keep it a complete and total secret, was able to mask any of his activity from showing up through his financial records, or from raising suspicion through anyone that was close to him. So moving on, the next card would be the what, representing what is the Tower. So we all know the Tower. The Tower is representing major upheaval, major kind of like crisis, huge change, and kind of like chaos, like your life flipping upside down, or like even like danger or violence, or the kind of upheaval that might make you feel scared or totally overwhelmed, or really just might throw your whole life into a whirlwind so that it's unrecognizable as what it was before. So it represents like a big shock. So the what really, it makes sense that the Tower would be here, because this was like an totally unexpected move. And obviously it was a shock and created a lot of upheaval and altered the course of hundreds of people's lives. And in relation to the who here, and just intuitively, it feels like the act was kept so under wraps and was so deeply personal and secretive on the part of the actor, who would be perhaps the pilot in this case, from what I'm reading in the cards. So the tower could be representing the disappearance itself and just the upheaval that it created, but it could also be representing what was going on internally within the actor being the pilot. I keep saying the actor, I don't know why, but I just mean the person who took the action to make the plane disappear, to bring it off course, or whatever it was. Let's move on to the why. So the why is represented by the Three of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles represents combining creativity and practicality, and the constructive. I'm reading directly out of a tarot book right now that's just easy for me to reference, because my Pisces brain has a hard time holding all this information in my mind, so I like to have just like little reference words and things to check on. But there's a sentence here that says, the three represents the constructive utilization of your abilities to produce long-lasting physical results. And now I'm thinking about there's a flight simulator the pilot had in his home, which was found later after the flight disappeared, after the plane disappeared. Authorities found a flight simulator in this man's home, which isn't that abnormal. He was a pilot after all, but there was a simulated flight path that had been practiced on his computer that was in a path that matched the theory of where the plane went, and it ended in the Indian Ocean, where they theorized it crashed. And that's quite a big coincidence right there. So what I'm seeing in these first three cards is that the Who was the pilot, and that he was very, very good at keeping all of this to himself, at playing a role outwardly, but having a completely different intention and experience within. And he used his practicality along with his creativity. He used his smarts and his intelligence and his experience flying the planes to actually plan out this very intricate and sophisticated disappearance of the plane. So let's find out maybe, well, okay, so the why still, I'm not going to quite leave this card yet. So the why, it's saying, I'm interpreting it as like he was using his smarts, his intelligence, and his creativity, but like, why did he do that? So this card can also indicate kind of like a payback period where investments that you made in the past are coming back to you. It also means successfully completing projects. I'm almost feeling like he wasn't working alone. Like maybe this wasn't just like his idea. This wasn't him being suicidal and planning out this very detailed and difficult suicide mission. I almost feel like the why here with the Three of Pentacles is, it's telling me that perhaps this was a deal that was made. But anyways, Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like he was clever enough and smart enough at his job that he was able to execute this plan, but it could be very likely that it may not have necessarily been his idea, that he was carrying out a plan for someone else, and there could have even been some type of a incentive for him to do this that he gained on the other end of it. Or maybe he was told there was an incentive and, you know, he ended up being a casualty along with everyone else in favor of whoever it was that was helping him, if that makes sense. This is all just speculation, not necessarily coming from the information directly on the cards. Kind of going off of my intuitive brain. So the next card would be Wynn, and it's represented by the star reversed. So the star reversed indicates to me maybe losing sight of your dreams, your hopes and dreams, or feeling like they're unattainable. And it being in the Wynn position makes me wonder if the Wynn is telling us that he was in an emotionally vulnerable place when this decision was made to execute this plan. There's also a lot of meaning in this card about like rising to your success or being recognized for the work that you've done, that your hopes and dreams could be coming true. And it's almost feeling like, so if we go in that direction that my intuition is taking me along with the cards, that he wasn't working alone, that he was maybe presented with this idea that came along with like a major incentive to carry out this plan, that the star reversed being in the Wynn position, I feel like he may have been approached. It could either be when he was feeling discouraged or maybe like challenged in his work, and he was promised something that would improve his perception and experience of working. But this could also be saying, to me, my feeling about it is that perhaps he was approached and almost lied to. The star in reverse, it's making me feel like Wynn. The Wynn would be that he was approached by people who seemed, well, first of all, people in authority that would praise him and tell him how smart he was and how able he was to carry out this plan for them, and that they, you know, maybe he was even promised recognition and some level of fame for coming out the other side of this, but he was kind of like tricked into believing that he would come out the other side when in reality he just became another casualty. Or perhaps he did come out the other side and was given a new identity and smuggled into some other country along with all these couple hundred other people. I mean, who knows? But yeah, the star reversed in the Wynn position is making me feel like it's one of two things, or maybe a combination of these two things, that The win would be that he made the decision when he was like emotionally vulnerable about achieving his life dreams and feeling out of reach from his hopes and dreams. Or it could also be that he was approached dishonestly by people in authority that gave him promises and praise that made him believe that he would be executing a plan that had good intentions and that he would be rewarded for this. So the next card is representing where, and it's the dark moon. And here, so I've had the dark moon come up in these readings before. It came up in the Henry McCabe case. It was in a different position, but I feel like where is unknown to us. The dark moon is telling us that we can't see where, and we may never know where. And the reason why could be because it's not, we're only looking in the logical places. We're only looking as far as our knowledge and experience of the world takes us. But perhaps it goes beyond that. Perhaps there was some kind of technology that we are unaware of, that only governments or elites are aware of, cloaking technology, or something along those lines, that made it so we may never know the where. It's something that perhaps like I wouldn't even be able to intuit or explain, because it's beyond our level of perception at this time. So the last card is representing how, and it's the Queen of Swords. So the Queen of Swords is again talking about, using your intellect to be successful. It's also talking about kind of like the Queen of Swords. It's very like practical energy. It's intelligent energy, earthy energy. It's like earth and ethers combined. It's taking your intuition and making it be as practical of a tool as possible. It's also about like taking control of your destiny. And the Page of Swords, which was in the Who position, it was also kind of about taking control of your destiny. I feel like the pilot of the plane is the one who ultimately carried out this action of making the plane disappear and turning it around and taking it off course. But either he was extremely passionate deep within, to a point that it so deep within, I mean that like it was undetectable to anyone who was close to him. But that doesn't seem as believable to me. That doesn't feel intuitively as correct to me as the idea that someone else approached him, someone who's in the shadows, someone that this character or characters that approached him and gave him the idea and gave him the resources to be able to do all of this, that they presented the idea to him as that if he did this, that he could take control of his life in a way that he really desired to. They may have catered to his hopes and dreams in order to manipulate him into carrying out this task. So the how could really be that because of whatever incentive he felt like he had to carry this out, which could be one of two things. It could be an incentive that was presented to him from an outside source, or it really could be an incentive for deep within that he needed to, that he just needed to die and take all these people with him. But why? Why would that be a thing? So you may be asking, but why would an outside source want to come to a innocent man and manipulate him into carrying out something like this that's just such a huge task to carry out? But if you choose to go down the rabbit holes of the story, one of the most intriguing pieces of the story to me is that there was this company. They were based in Austin in the United States. They're called Freescale Semiconductor, and they actually they make electronic warfare devices and other electronic devices that can be used to track people, to manipulate crowds, all of this kind of stuff that is a little controversial. But there were 20 employees on that flight from this company, but could also be that they needed to get rid of these high up employees because they knew too much, or perhaps they needed to smuggle them out of their lives and give them new identities so that they could continue carrying out secret missions. Like, this is going way far down the rabbit hole. I would highly suggest you just kind of dive into it if it interests you. But yeah, my conclusion from this reading is that it wasn't a hijacking. It was, well, I mean, maybe you could define it that way, but it was hijacked by the pilot of the plane, and it was planned. The pilot of the plane knew this was going to happen. He took over the flight and disconnected the communication devices, and I feel like this reading didn't really go beyond that. It's telling us like a little bit more, giving us a little bit more insight about what may have happened. But the fact that like the where is the dark moon, the where is just like, we don't know and we'll never know. The cards can't tell us any more than this. They can just give us these clues that maybe he was in an emotionally vulnerable place, or he was emotionally manipulated by an outside source. And that's where I'm gonna go intuitively and say that my intuitive impression from the messages in these cards is that the pilot was approached by an outside source that had maybe nefarious or very secret intentions that go beyond just like the logical comprehensions that we can come up with. And I feel like the plane probably will never be found, and we may never really know what happened. So that's all. That's the most I have to say about it anyways. If you happen to read tarot and you've got this far into the video and you have some different suggestions for the interpretations of these cards in these positions, please feel free to let me know in the comments below what you think about this reading. or even just your own personal speculations and insights and ideas about this case. So I hope that this was informative, enjoyable. Please remember that this is for entertainment purposes only. There's no factual information or allegations or anything like that. We're just innocently and curiously taking a look at what spirit and symbolism might have to say about this unresolved mystery. So until next time, we'll do this again soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.